On this episode, we talk about recruiting technical talent for your startup, books to read in e-commerce, and the future of marketing. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 19 of the AskEngine show. We're excited to hit you back on a Monday morning. This is going to be the only episode for you this week. Where are you going?
I'm going to San Francisco for SaaStr conference.
SaaStr?
Great, yeah. It's a lot of fun.
So for our massive viewership, if any of y'all are at SaaStr, he's going to be signing autographs and taking names. But we got 3 questions for you. We're excited to jump in, and let's just go ahead and start off with the first one. The first one is from a Redditor, and the question is, how do you encourage people to help you run a startup that is technically focused when you're a non-technical founder? And the context for this for you is that he's wanting to know, number one, how do you incentivize employees to come in who are going to have more technical chops than him? And then how do you explain that as a possible weakness to investors?
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's a weakness to investors. I think really it is about getting the initial technical talent in. Because once you have traction, investor doesn't care who does what in the company for the most part. So I can speak to this. Maybe I can, maybe I can't. Because I was the technical co-founder in probably the first 10 years of business that I was in. In the last 10 years, I've been the non-technical co-founder convincing other smarter engineers.
But you're a pretty technical, non-technical person.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I bring technical chops to the game on advertising, and I mean, I could build a lot of what we're building. I mean, I would have, a year or two of catch up on my programming skills to be able to do it. But so I guess I am a little bit of an outlier. So here's what I tell entrepreneurs in the College of Business. So I routinely go teach a section or two of entrepreneurship at the local MBA/business college, and what I tell them is go make friends with the engineers. You're a business guy. You can't start a business without an engineer. A product guy, even if you're not doing a technical build a website type or a build an app type business. So go over to the engineering school, or if you're building clothes, go to the design school or whatever, and make a friend with the technical co-founder. And in doing that, what you're going to realize is most engineers are not a full stack business person either, meaning they don't know the things you know about profit and loss and all this. At the same time, there's more people that are entrepreneurs than true entrepreneurs. So they think, hey, I'm going to start this startup and it's going to be awesome, and they have no history or no ability to state a clear vision, and of course they're not going to be able to find technical talent. And if that's you, I mean, go learn some of this tech yourself. You dive in and be conversant, be able to have a conversation. Go to Code Academy and learn how to actually code, or some of these things. And I mean, it's easier said than done. I can't tell you, literally it's probably 20 to 1, the number of entrepreneurs that want to be entrepreneurs trying to find engineering talent to the one engineer who's actually good and wants to work. They've got the pick of the litter, which is great. That's the way it should be, frankly. So figure out how to bring something to the table as the non-technical co-founder, or good luck to you.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that one thing that's a little ray of hope, but also probably not, is that if you can't sell a technical person to join your startup, you're probably not equipped to sell your company to VCs or people of that nature. I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to salesmanship. You've got to sell them on the dream.
Well, the role of a startup CEO is sales, because to get your first, in our case, first 168 customers, what we look at that as a sales job, and that's going to be done by me, you, Blake. It's not a super scalable thing, but that's how you get it done. You have to be a salesman to go get venture capitalists on. You have to be a salesman until you have product and revenue to get your early founding team around you. So if you're not good at that, you're probably not a CEO. And if you're not, you can develop those skills. I was not good at that either, to say the least. I was just a little.
But you're a natural storyteller.
Well, you say that. I mean, I was more of a geek.
I only know you then,
So I was this hunchbacked little skinny kid, and now all of a sudden everyone thinks I'm an extrovert and a team builder. But I had to work at that, and. So yeah, if I could do it easily, I don't know this cat, but I bet you anything this guy could do it too.
Yeah, and then at the end of the day, you've either got to pay them or you've got to sell them on the dream and give them equity.
Both. Yeah, you need to do both. Ideally, if you're bad at this and you can't convince someone to work for you for free, there's another option: pay them. Well, that means you got to go convince someone higher up the food chain, a venture capitalist or whatever, to give you money, or convince customers, well, you don't have a product yet, so that's hard to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's really about creating a vision and a dream that's larger than yourself, and make it irresistible. If you find 5 guys, and they're all awesome, and they all look at you like, no, you better go back and re-examine your idea. It's probably not that good, or you don't have the chops. Well, how do you go get and prove that you're going to be successful here? What have you done? What have you built? You're going to ask the same thing of your engineer. Well, he ought to ask that of you or she. So that's it. That's a really good question.
Yeah, perfect. Question number 2 is from Reddit as well, and the Redditor asks, what books should you read to learn more about e-commerce operations and e-commerce business?
Hey, here's an opportunity for a shameless plug. So we're building, I'm actually writing a book on my last 23 years of e-commerce experience. So it's been a good ride. And the reason I'm writing is I just don't see a lot of plain truths and case studies out there about successful e-commerce businesses. So if you go to engineinsights.com/book, you'll see a sign-up page. We'll let you know when it. Yeah. Oh, you're going to put that right above my head.
We've got a professional editor now. He
Wow,
can
how
do
about
these things.
that? Yeah. So engineinsights.com/book. That'll be out in the next 3 or 4 or 5 months. Who knows? There's a lot of work going on, and just some really incredible interviews with some founders that I know personally, have worked with. Tell the story of how we raised $100 million in our last business that we did, how we bootstrapped the first several to success. It's really good. Startup Incubator started 12 e-commerce companies here in Arkansas. Sold one of them just recently for $25 million, 18-month-old company. So all those stories. Until that comes out, I think you look at the Everything store around Amazon. You've read that as well. Yeah, it's a great. It's dated, right? This is a 20-year-old story, but there's a lot to learn from it.
Yep.
Another one, I think you look at Delivering Happiness, which is Zappos. Tony Hsieh. There's a lot of there's a lot of interesting ideas in that book from how you run a business. Ignore those or listen to them, whatever. But at its core, it's a great story of how to hack together a successful e-commerce business and how expensive it can be to scale one of those, and why they sold for $900 million or $1.2 billion or something like that to Amazon back in the day. Still one of the 2 or 3 or 4 most successful e-com exits of all time.
And I'm not a big book reader. I skimmed through books.
It shows. It shows.
Hurtful. All right. So, but what I would encourage you to do is you need to go and find the top 50 companies that you're looking at, and instead of reading about them, watch what they do. The reason that I don't read a ton is because I care much more about what people do, not what they say. And so when it comes to these companies, when you're reading a book, especially a book after an acquisition, a lot of times there's core guiding principles that you can get from any book,
right? But
the tactics and tricks that they use to scale their company are not what's going to be viable for you to scale your company, unless you're doing it the exact same time as them, in which case you're not reading a book that they've written.
It wouldn't be a book about it if they were actively doing it.
Exactly. So go in and just audit companies. I spend, to this day, it's been a daily practice. I audit a company almost every night. The one that I sent you, I'll write 2 pages worth of notes on what does their website look like, what are their offers, what is their email sequence once I leave the page, what are they doing from a retargeting perspective, what AdWords are they bidding on, what are their referral links. I just research companies, and it allows you to have a finger on the pulse of what's working, what's not, in the context when you're actually building your company. So I would really recommend that you find 50 competitors or 50 people that you admire from a marketing perspective and just see what they do and then recreate it.
Well, I like how you changed the question, but let's go back to it, right? Okay, so there's only a couple e-com books. Of course, I'm writing one, engineinsights.com/book. If it's still there, if it's not, then I just look like an idiot. And then what I've often found is by reading books in tangential spaces, it's probably more valuable than reading actual case studies of what's been built. So in that line, there are 3 real good business books I might recommend. Building a Fort by Chris Hively. He was the founder of MapQuest, a good buddy of mine, trying to build a startup scene over in North Carolina. Great guy, great book. super simple. You can read it in an hour. I think we've all read it, except for you because you don't know how to read. And then there was Rework by Jason Fried, founder of Basecamp, 37 Signals. That's another hour and a half long
I've read
book.
parts of that one.
That's a really good book. Super simple to read. But then you look at, okay, now I've told you e-commerce, I've told you a couple books in business. Well, why not go a step further and start reading things outside of business, scientific, nonfiction, whatever, and taking the principles that apply there. In fact, that's how I started my first business. I read some book, and I don't remember the name of it, on arbitrage back in the day. And it was around financial arbitrage, and basically I figured out how to do that back before people were talking about search engine arbitrage and Facebook arbitrage and click arbitrage, whatever, and basically discovered a field that there was not a lot written about. So, who knows what it is? I highly doubt that reading about the string theory is going to help you. You're not going to discover nuclear quantum physics here, but that's what I do. I read a book a week minimally, and I can honestly say only about 20-25% of them are business books. So, all right, what's next? We got one more?
Yep, last question, and this one comes from Cora, and it's asking, what is the future of the marketing field? And it's asked by an agency owner to give you some context. And so I'll let you answer first, because I've kind of got a counterintuitive answer.
Yeah, I think you're probably more qualified to answer this. But yeah, I'll give my answer. I've never found a lot of value in outsourced marketing. And I think part of the reason is I've always been a quant marketer, an arbitrage type marketer, and frankly, there weren't any back in the day when I was doing this. There weren't a lot of
the people who were doing it weren't telling
terrible.
Anybody.
Oh, they're right. Yeah, if you knew how to do it, you were doing it. You weren't outsourcing it. So now you've got a lot of wannabes out doing this quant marketing, and frankly, it's getting easier and easier and easier to do it. So you don't even technically need an agency to do it. So I think, and I'm anxious to hear yours, but I think what I see is agencies are going to change dramatically. They're going to go to things that you aren't able to do easily through that back end of AdWords and Facebook, and et cetera.
Yeah, I think that agencies, my general outlook on agencies is if you're in an agency right now, you need to get as big as you possibly can. So you need to forego profit for scale and growth right now, mainly because everybody and their mother is getting into an advertising space. It's one of the fastest growing industries, but when you look at the actual growth, if you're not Facebook or Google, from an ad tech perspective, you might as well shut your doors. Facebook and Google, I think, took over 103% of the growth last year. But from an agency perspective, you've got to understand that what you're offering to your clients is something, or what you need to be offering is something other than simple mechanics or button pushing, is what I would qualify as button pushing. The tactics and tricks and optimizations, things of that nature, it's getting to a point where a computer can possibly do it better than okay marketers. Great marketers still have an edge because there's still there's still some catching up to do. But if you look at I can't remember what the chess player the
Gary Kasparov, Deep Blue, or
Deep Blue, whatever it's called, but
the one that beat.
It can beat the top 20 chess players in the world all at once.
Yeah.
And it's a computer algorithm.
It was the Alpha, the Google thing that just literally destroyed Stockfish, which is the number one chess playing algorithm all the time. And here's this AI thing that just crushes it. Yeah, so how are you differentiated as an agency? What are you going to do that... it ticks me off. Even in my Facebook feed, I see, hey, I built an agency managing Facebook ads for my clients. Learn how you too can build a $20,000 a month agency. Well, if you can learn how to do that from some dude on the internet and learn how to do it, and then through a webinar, you're not any value. Who cares? Don't do it.
Yeah.
We've got an agency in our portfolio that does content marketing, and it's a very interesting thing. It's not about the fact that content marketing is good. They build great content. It's not viral content. It's content designed to actually get people off their couch and go into stores and purchase things through mass market retailers or online or whatever. And the way they do it actually provides lift. It's not the arbitrage that they use, yeah, we've got a good quant in there that spends the money and is ad buyer. I don't think that's the value add there.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with you. Surprisingly enough, you got to be differentiated, and it's not about math.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, you've also got there's a lot of wasted spend right now when it comes to, and I'm talking about agencies on a very large scale.
Yeah.
It's getting to a point now where agencies are going to have to become much more efficient, especially with their content creation, especially with the romance around the prices that they charge. I mean, it's getting to a point where you can go hire a 20-year-old videographer, pay them $30,000, $40,000 a year, and you no longer have to hire Bain & McKinsey to create you $1 million, TV commercial. So,
well, you saw HQ's commercial last night on Super Bowl.
I didn't.
You didn't? Okay. So here's HQ. If you don't know, it's this great trivia app. It's kind of like a large-scale interactive Jeopardy that comes on twice a day. We play it every day in our office at 2 o'clock Central Time, and you're just not very good at it. Yeah. You'll get.
It goes back to the not reading.
That would do it. Yeah.
I know a lot about a little.
I'm just kidding, obviously. So HQ's commercial last night on the Super Bowl was a 15-second spot, and it was obviously a mobile filmed spot and filmed with a cell phone, an iPhone, whatever. And this woman answers the 12th question on HQ and wins some amount of money and just goes absolutely berserk. And then a 2-second spot of the HQ logo. Nothing else. I mean, we could have made that couldn't we? We could have made this in 15 minutes. No lie.
Don't tell Joe he can make it. He'll leave us.
Yeah, Joe could have made this in 15 minutes. I'm not kidding. There was nothing special about it. But wow, they probably spent $2 million or whatever to pump this out through the Super Bowl, and it was one of the two or three commercials I paused and rewound and showed to my whole family. So.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to answer this question in 30 seconds because we kind of trailed there. So, future of marketing, truly and honestly, if you're in the marketing space, you need to become very efficient, and you need to differentiate yourself in a way that allows you to not be commoditized out. So you either need to give thought leadership and bring fresh and new ideas to help companies grow, or you need to realize that what you're charging today, if you're charging $5,000 for Facebook optimization, you need to realize that in 24 to 36 months, there's going to be a program that costs $299 that is going to be just as good, if not better than you. So you need to figure out either move to new platforms or move your value proposition to something that is uniquely suited to you and the strengths that you have as an agency, storytelling, creative, things of that nature, as opposed to just quant marketing, arbitrageable and optimizable problems.
I agree. All right.
Awesome. Question of the day. I want to ask that question back to the audience. What do you think the future of marketing is, from either an agency perspective or from a just a market perspective? What do you see happening? How do you see people reacting to the Snapchat update? How do you see people reacting to marketing in 2018 and over the next 36 months? Thank you all for stopping in. We'll see you tomorrow.